Gopi Janaballabha Giridvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janabala Giridvaradhari Jai Gopi Janabala Giridvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Shabam Sabharaj Kadai Stoja Sadasi AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Jayam Shabam Sabharaj Kadai Stoja Sadasi Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Prabhupada Ki Go Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya For the from Navami, we'll read from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 11, Lord Ramachandra rules the world, text 16. Tachchudva Bhagavan Ramo Vrindanapi Diyashuta Smaram Tasya Gunam Stamstan Nashakno Rodum Ishvara Tachchutta Bhagavan Ramo Vrindanapi Diyashuta Smaram Tasya Gunam Stamstan Nashakno Rodum Ishvara Tachchutva Bhagavan Ramo Vrindanapi Diyashucha Swaram Tasya Gunam Stamstan Nasagno Rodumishvara Vaishnavis. Taught this, the news of Sita Devi's entering the earth. Shutva, hearing. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rama, Lord Ramachandra. Runtan, trying to reject. Api, although. Diya, by intelligence. Shucha, grief. Smaran, remembering. Tasya, of her. Gunan, qualities. Tan, under different circumstances. Na, not. Ashaknot, was able. Rodum, to check. Ishvara, although the supreme controller. Translation. After hearing the news of Mother Sita's entering the earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was certainly aggrieved. Although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, upon remembering the exalted qualities of Mother Sita, he could not check his grief in transcendental love. Purport. Lord Ramachandra's grief at the news of Sita Devi's entering the earth is not to be considered material. In the spiritual world also, there are feelings of separation, but such feelings are considered spiritual bliss. Grief in separation exists even in the absolute, but such feelings of separation in the spiritual world are transcendentally blissful. Such feelings are a sign of tasya prema vashyatva swabhava, being under the influence of Hladini Shakti and being controlled by love. In the material world, such feelings of separation are only a perverted reflection. Translation again. After hearing the news of Mother Sita's entering the earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was certainly aggrieved. Although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, upon remembering the exalted qualities of Mother Sita, he could not check his grief in transcendental love. Om Jnanachimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. The pastimes of Lord Ram are full of what seems to be sorrow and separation, as well as the joy of reunion. But none of this, as the purport instructs us, is on the material plane. Lord Ram's pastimes have a dual nature, a dual effect. They acquaint us with the emotions of the spiritual world, and also they teach lessons about the material world and material affairs. Sometimes the question is asked, when you chant Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, who does Ram refer to? There are 3 Ramas. You could actually say 4 Ramas. There is Dasara Sutta, the son of Dasara. There is Rohini Sutta, Balaram, the son of Rohini. And there is Krishna, who is also known as Rama. We'll talk more about that. And there is, you could say, Parashuram, he's also a Ram. So on one level, you can say that there's no point in arguing which Rama you are referring to. Then again, from the viewpoint of rasa, there are different degrees of intimacy in chanting Hare Rama. For those influenced by Aishvarya rasa, the rasa of opulence, Rama refers to Dasara Sutta, Lord Ramchandra. But for those interested in Madhurya rasa, Rama refers to Krishna as Radha Raman, the enjoyer of the association, Srimati Radharani. So, which Rama you are chanting depends on your point of reference. When you consider Rama to be Radha Raman, Krishna, the enjoyer of the company of Srimati Radharani, the Hare refers to Srimati Radharani, who is also known as Hara. She's known as Hara because she attracts the mind of Lord Krishna. So much so that you can say she steals his mind, therefore Hara. And if you consider Rama to refer to Ramchandra, then of course the Hare refers to the internal potency in the form of Sita Devi. Keep in mind that in Ram Lila you are seeing the perfection of following Vedic rules and regulations. That is Lord Ram. Whereas Lord Krishna, as a young boy, as a little baby, as a child, very mischievous, Makanchor, the butter thief. And of course, in his teenage years, his early teens, he was famous for stealing other items in the middle of the night. So you must maintain the distinction between Ram, Krishna, all of Krishna's appearances, even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are one. Krishna is the Amshi and all others are Amsha, except Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we often explain. He is also Amshi. He's the origin of all incarnations. He's Swayam Bhagavan. So you can't merge completely, even though the distinctions, even though everything emanates from Krishna. Pure devotional service means that you understand the mood of the Lord, the attitude of the Lord in his particular appearance, and you maintain that attitude. You acknowledge that attitude accordingly. So in Lord Ram, you have the most diligent, precise follower of Vedic rules and regulations. And then as Krishna in Braj, you have mischievousness, naughtiness, boldness. Krishna is demonstrating as a young boy how no one is inactive. No one should be inactive. As a village boy, what does he do? He herds cows. And he comes home in the evening with Balaram and Mother Yashoda, Mother Rohini, bathe their children, feed them, and then put them to sleep. Yashoda Mai thinks Krishna's gone to sleep for the whole night, but something else is going on at night. Then there's Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna in the role of Krishna's devotee. Sometimes some so-called followers of Lord Chaitanya, Gauranga Nagari, they worship Lord Chaitanya as Krishna. But this is not pure devotional service because Lord Chaitanya wants to remain Chana avatar, hidden in terms of his being Krishna. He wants to fully get into being a devotee. So even though such persons who worship Lord Chaitanya as Krishna, treating Lord Chaitanya as the enjoyer of the gopis, even though it's true, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. At a deeper level, he's Radha Krishna combined. Sometimes the Radha comes out more in Gaur Leela, sometimes the Krishna comes out more. But Lord Chaitanya generally and most predominantly wants to consider himself as the enjoyed, not the enjoyer. He wants to be considered as a devotee. So much so that when even devotees, what to speak of ordinary people, would address Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what was his reaction? He would cover his ears and call out, Vishnu, Vishnu, protect me from such offenses. Number one, he's in the mood, he's in the attitude of a devotee. He doesn't want to be addressed as Krishna. He's trying to taste what it's like to be a devotee. What is the position of Srimati Radharani? What is the glory of her love? What is the sweetness she's tasting? What's the happiness she feels in Krishna's association? This is what Lord Chaitanya is coming to taste. So he doesn't want to be disturbed by being called Krishna. So a devotee, a pure devotee, respects that attitude of the Lord. A pure devotee doesn't mix such transcendental realities, even though all the realities are transcendental. Similarly, there's a difference between Krishna and Ram. In Laghu Bhagavatamrita, if anyone is interested in understanding the depths, the science of the avatars, we have a beautiful BBT rendition of Laghu Bhagavatamrita. And there, Rupa Goswami talks about all the avatars, mentions all of them. Of course, as Bhagavatam states, you cannot count all the avatars, just like you cannot count the waves in the ocean. But as a human being on this planet, you're only responsible for recognizing those avatars listed in the Shastra. That's all. If a so-called avatar is not mentioned in the Shastra, then you don't accept. That doesn't mean that the number of avatars is limited, but it means that what human beings can accept as avatars is limited. Otherwise, there are avatars in every species of life. So Rupa Goswami, of all the avatars, groups three in a special category, Pada Avasta. Those three manifest more qualities, more bhaga, more opulences of Bhagavan. So therefore, those three are in a class by themselves. Now, keep in mind that all the expansions and incarnations of Krishna are perfect and complete, Om Purnam. But they only, some of them, except for Krishna, manifest lesser versions of the Supreme Absolute Truth. They are perfect and complete Om Purnam in themselves, but they don't manifest the fullness. So why? Three: Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Ramchandra, and Krishna. Because of what they show that the others don't show, even though the others have it, they don't show it. So Lord Nrsimhadev is famous for his power. Unlimited power. Prabhava Uma. Infinite power. Although those in the know, devotees, will focus more on Lord Nrsimhadev's relationship with Prahlad, that affectionate relationship. Still, Nrsimhadev is all about overwhelming power, as generally known. But he doesn't show as much affectionate dealings, as much intimacy as Ramchandra, as we're hearing in today's verse. Ramchandra's dealings with Sita. But even though Ramchandra is known as Madhurya Bhuma, unlimited sweetness, nothing compares to the sweetness of Krishna. So therefore, Rupa Goswami explains that even though those three special avatars are in a special group by themselves, that doesn't mean that all three are equal appearances of the Lord. Ramchandra shows depths of intimacy that Nrsimhadev doesn't. And Krishna shows depths of intimacy that Ram doesn't. The example given by Rupa Goswami is, he quotes Devamrita Thakur. Leela Shuka is his name. Devamrita Thakur or Leela Shuka says, there may be many incarnations of the Lord, but who amongst these incarnations can make even the plants, trees, and creepers cry in ecstatic love? Only Krishna does that. So Baladev Vidyabhushan brings out the point that in Ram Leela, yes, the plants and trees cried one time upon the news of Ram being banished to the forest. The plants and trees in the forest cried out of separation. But that's only once. Whereas in Krishna Leela, every day in the forest, the plants, trees, and creepers are crying in ecstasy. Even in Krishna's presence, honey is pouring, sap is pouring from the vegetation in ecstasy because of Krishna. Not simply in separation, but also even when Krishna is right there. So this is cited by Rupa Goswami as proof that even in the Pada Avasta category, the top three, no one compares to Krishna. Yashodanandana. Not even Dasarath Sutta, the son of Maharaj Dasarath. Although the banishing by Dasarath, banishing his son to the forest, was such a mega heart-wrenching event, still nothing compares to the depth of rasa stirred in Braj. So if you want to understand these top three, Pada Avasta, you read Laghu Bhagavatamrita, as Rupa Goswami builds his case, so to speak, step by step. He starts with Nrsingadev, then goes to Ram, and then ends with Krishna. The example given, it's like you're climbing the steps to a palace. You start at the lower step, the middle step, the upper step, and you're there. So you start with Nrsingadev, then to Ramchandra, and then you're there with Krishna. But more about Lord Ramchandra. He's the perfect Vedic follower. Strictly, he demonstrates how to be the perfect husband, the perfect son, the perfect brother, the perfect father, the perfect king, everything precisely Vedic, 100%. Whereas Krishna, Vedaishta Sarvaya Ahomeva Veja, Krishna is the goal of the Vedas. So you cannot hang Krishna with Vedic injunctions when he's the goal of the Veda. In fact, he's the compiler of the Veda. So sometimes Krishna, especially in his Dwarka Leela, shows complete adherence to Vedic rituals, regulations. But in Braj, anything goes in Braj, as long as it magnifies pure love. In that way, Braj Leela shows that pure love is the ultimate. That's the goal of the Vedas. When Krishna dances in the night, apparently with others' wives, you have to know the science of Krishna, that everyone and everything is Krishna's energy. So if you try to press Vedic injunctions upon Krishna, you're forgetting that the goal of the Vedas is Krishna. Someone wonders, why in Dwarka Leela did Krishna marry 16,000 wives? The question, you may know, the question should be, why did he marry only 16,000? He's unlimited. Why did he stop at 16,108? Not why 16,000 wives. So in Dwarka Leela, Krishna is showing the strict following of Vedic, being a Vedic householder. But Ram is most famous for being super Vedic. You've just heard that he performed a yajna. That'll be coming up in text 18. After Mother Sita entered the earth, Lord Ramachandra observed complete celibacy and performed an uninterrupted Agnihotra yajna for 13,000 years. Now, it is known that Ramachandra's performance of yajna was for himself. Is this Ahangraha Upasaka? Worshipping the self as God? In that case, in the case of Lord Ramachandra, he is the supreme absolute truth. So who is he supposed to worship other than himself? Just like in Dwarka Leela, in the morning, upon rising and doing the morning ablutions, Krishna would meditate on the supreme absolute truth. Who's he supposed to meditate on? Who's the supreme absolute truth? It's him. So he meditates on himself. That's not an invitation for you to do the same. But for Krishna, self-realization is himself. For everyone else, Jivera Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. We are the eternal servants of Krishna. So who is Ramchandra supposed to do a yajna for? Who is Krishna and Dwarka supposed to meditate on in the morning? Sometimes devotees wonder, why did Ram do this? Why did he abandon Sita even when she was expecting? How cruel, apparently. How could this be the behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, especially one so Vedic as Ram? In one Shastra, you first understand the general principle that the Lord and his internal potency manifest in this world and then unmanifest. It's not that their existence is finished. It's just that their visible presence to ordinary vision has ended. So that is the general principle to understand. There's a time for the appearance of a particular Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there's a time for relinquishing that appearance. It doesn't mean, this phenomenon doesn't mean that the Lord assumes a body. He assumes a body of Ramchandra, and then that body is finished. No, it's now you see him, now you don't. He's Leela Tanu. His body is Leela. It's not that he assumes a body and then relinquishes the body, casts off the body. That's the misunderstanding of those who do not understand the science of Krishna. There's a time to show it and a time to conceal it. Meanwhile, the Leela goes on. Ram Leela eternally goes on. In the 24th Divya Yuga of Vaivashvata Manu, Lord Ramchandra appears. And in the 28th Divya Yuga means the 4 yugas. In the 28th set, the 28th quartet, Krishna appears. So just like once every day of Brahma, Krishna appears. Similarly, once every day of Brahma, Lord Ramchandra appears. Lord Ramchandra appears in that Treta Yuga, and Krishna appears millions of years later at the end of Dwapara Yuga. So generally, the principle is that the Lord appears to ordinary vision and disappears from ordinary vision, but his Leela is eternal. But specifically, you want to know some detail in some supplementary Shastra. Jiva Goswami explains that in the Brahmanda Purana, it is stated that the Devatas told Lord Ram, it's time for you to go back to Vaikuntha. But you'll never go without Sita. So in order for you to go back to Vaikuntha, Sita has to disappear. She has to go to Vaikuntha first. Otherwise, you'll never leave. And it's time for you to relinquish your appearance to ordinary vision. So Lord Ramchandra said, all right, I'll arrange for Sita's disappearance, and then I'll return to Vaikuntha. So that's a detail. Such details are not meant for us to become overwhelmed by them, especially if we don't understand the general principle. So today's verse tells us, after hearing the news of Mother Sita's entering the earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was certainly aggrieved. Hey, what? There's grief in the spiritual world? The Supreme Personality of Godhead feels grief, and he could not check his grief in transcendental love. Na nod rodum Ishvara He's Ishvara, the supreme controller, but he can't control his grief. What's going on? What's going on is the Lord is under the control of pure love. So in Ram Leela, what seems to be prominent is power, strength, military victory, conquest, inconceivable opulence. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us that we should not become, a devotee should not become overwhelmed by all the power and opulence in Ram Leela. The devotee should focus on the sweetness of the loving exchanges. So therefore, in Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami will say, it's not such a big deal about Ramchandra floating the stones in the ocean to make a bridge to Lanka. It's not such a big deal about Ramchandra killing the 10-headed Ravana, or his expertise, Ramchandra's expertise as a bowman. What is most noteworthy are his dealings with Hanuman, his dealings with Sita, his dealings with Lakshman, his dealings with his father, Dasarath Maharaj. So this grief that Ramchandra is feeling. First of all, when Sita was kidnapped, he's showing how to be a perfect husband. How was she kidnapped? The demon Maricha assumed the form of a golden deer as service to Ravana. That was the plot, that the golden deer would appear and entice Sita. And she would order Ram, please get this golden deer I want. Ram didn't know this was a demon taking the form of a golden deer. Of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is omniscient. But why did he do it? He's showing how to be a perfect husband. My wife wants it, I've got to get it. And then, when he returned, of course, Sita had been kidnapped by Ravana. And Ramchandra laments, apparently like an ordinary human being. Oh, Sita, oh, Sita. But this is all ecstatic love and separation. It has nothing to do with the material plane. And after lamenting about Sita's gone, what did he do? Again, he showed the behavior of a perfect husband. No matter what it takes, I've got to get her back. I'll go through hell and high water, so to speak, to find her. So Ramchandra is showing duty consciousness in marriage. His wife wanted the golden deer. All right, my dear, I'll get the golden deer. She's gone. He's lamenting, pouring out his heart. Sita, Sita. And then he takes up the struggle to get Sita back. And as Prabhupada points out in the purports, Ramchandra didn't have to go after Sita from the Vedic point of view. In that, he could have married again and again and again. Yes, from the Vedic point of view, he had to give protection to his wife. But in her absence, he could have easily married countless times. But he's demonstrating Ekapatni Vrata, the vow to have only one wife. So he went through such an ordeal, apparently, to find Sita and get her back. And his lamentation is teaching two things: the absolute reality, as we hear in the purport. Grief in separation exists even in the absolute, but such feelings of separation in the spiritual world are transcendently blissful. Such feelings are a sign of tasya prema vashyatva swabhava, being under the influence of Radhini Shakti and being controlled by love. In the material world, such feelings of separation are only a perverted reflection. So Ram is demonstrating what goes on in the internal potency. There are emotions. The crying in separation is an item of transcendental bliss. We can only readily understand the perverted reflection. Separation in the material world is agony. But in the spiritual world, yes, it's agony, but the agony is most ecstatic. Therefore, Krishna himself wants to taste what it's like to be separated from the beloved. He does that as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who explores what it's like to be absorbed in separation from Krishna. So Ramchandra and Sita are demonstrating this love in separation in the beginning phase. Beginning phase meaning compared to Radha Krishna, who are the zenith of the love and separation experience. In Ram Leela, you can see a trace of it. But in Radha Krishna Leela, you see the unlimited ocean of love and separation. So that's the spiritual lesson. But then there's the material lesson also. Ram is showing, you see what it's like to be attached? You see what you got to go through? Material attachment brings about problems. So Shukadeva Goswami uses the words Stri Sanginam Gatim. Ram is showing this is the situation. This is the destination of those who are materially attached. They got to suffer. Simultaneously, he's showing this is the spiritual reality. Love and separation is the highest reality. Therefore, as we said, Krishna himself wants to experience what it's like to be a devotee, feeling separation from Krishna. So he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, you can read about Gopakumar, who's a Brajbasi, how he goes through the various levels of the spiritual world. So Gopakumar, he's a cowherd boy. His attachment is for Madan Gopal, Krishna in Vrindavan. But he's going through the whole spiritual world, starting with Vaikuntha. And you can read about his experiences. Again, in that wonderful Bhaktivedanta Book Trust rendition of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. You can understand the whole spiritual world, the different places, the different bhavas. So Gopakumar is in Vaikuntha, and although he's overwhelmed by the experience of Vaikuntha, after a while he starts to wonder, where is my worshipable Lord Madan Gopal? I don't quite fit into Vaikuntha with Lord Narayan and Lakshmi. At first he was really into it, but sooner or later his Brajabhav starts to come out from his heart, and where am I? Where's my Madan Gopal? So Narada Muni appears And Narada Muni says, I'm going to tell you something that's confidential. Even in Vaikuntha, I'm telling you something very confidential. You should be making your way to Dwarka. Because in Dwarka, you have the Lord, Dwarkanath, who's almost as intimate as your Madan Gopal. So you need to achieve your goal step by step in stages. Use your intelligence. First, on your way to Dwarka, go to Ayodhya. And then from Ayodhya, take the next step to Dwarka. So Gopakumar does that. He was worried. How can I leave Vaikuntha without the permission of Lord Narayan? But Narada Muni tells him, Lord Narayan told me you should go. And now's a good time to go, Narada Muni tells him, because Lord Narayan, even if you want to see him, he's off somewhere dealing with a devotee. You may think that you'll just wait until he comes back, but usually he gets so caught up. Lord Narayan gets so caught up with his devotees. We don't know when he'll return. Better make your move now. Narada Muni is thinking, he's got to go now. Gopakumar's got to go now, because if he waits, if he delays till Narayan returns to his palace in Vaikuntha, Gopakumar will get overwhelmed by Narayan and may forget again about his need to make progress beyond Vaikuntha. So Narada Muni urges him, go now, go now. Go to Ayodhya. And then after Ayodhya, the next stop will be Dwarka. You'll be closer. You're getting closer to your worshipful Lord, Madan Gopal. And Narada Muni instructed him that even in worshiping other deities, the devotee sees traces of his Ishtadev, his beloved, even in other appearances of Lord Krishna. So even in Ramchandra, you'll see symptoms of your worshipful Lord Madan Gopal. So you see Madan Gopal in Lord Ramchandra. So Gopakumar takes off for Ayodhya. He approaches the outer precincts of Ayodhya, and he sees some monkeys chanting as they play in the trees. Ram, 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 Ram. Gopakumar knows, yes, I'm in the outer precincts of Ayodhya. Even the monkeys are Ram Bhaktas. And then some Ayodhya Vasis, residents of Ayodhya, they approach Gopakumar and they take him to the city of Ayodhya. They must have been sent by Ram, because otherwise, who would want to stray far from Ayodhya itself? But Lord Ram evidently sent them to greet Gopakumar, bring him into the city of Ayodhya. So as Gopakumar enters the city of Ayodhya, first he comes upon who he thinks is Ram, because the person is so beautiful, so loving, so caring, so opulent. So Gopakumar, like a naive cowherd boy, says, "Oh, Ram, Lord and Master." It's Bharat. Bharat covers his ears. I'm not Ram. I'm his servant. So Gopakumar knows he's got to move on into the center of Ayodhya to find Ram. And he does that. And Hanuman greets him. Gopakumar sees this beautiful sight of Ram, Hanuman, Sita. Gopakumar realizes that as unlimitedly beautiful as Ram is, He's even more beautiful in the association side by side with Sita, with Hanuman. So Gopakumar is paying his dandavats. He's overwhelmed. And Lord Ram is telling him, get up, my friend, my friend. Lord Ram is famous for his demonstration of respectfulness, humility, consideration, modesty. Get up, get up, get up. Enough of all this opulence. You're my friend. But Gopakumar can't get up off the ground. He's overwhelmed by the whole experience of seeing Ram. So Hanuman comes to get him off the ground. Simultaneously, Hanuman is doing so many services for Ram. He's fanning Ram. He's singing songs about Ram. He's praying to Ram. He's massaging Ram's lotus feet, all simultaneously. Gopakumar is amazed. What kind of energy does Hanuman have to do all this at the same time? Fanning, singing, praying, massaging feet, all at once. Amazing. So Gopakumar stays for some time in Ayodhya. Just to give you some perspective, there's a statement by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that the happiness of Vaikuntha is nothing compared to the happiness of Ayodhya. And the happiness of Dwarka is nothing, the happiness of Ayodhya is nothing compared to the happiness of Dwarka. But the happiness of Braj exceeds all those other places, Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, Dwarka. He explains even the distress, the so-called distress and misery felt in Braj stands upon the head of the happiness in all the other places. So figure that out. How can the distress of Braj stand on the head of the happiness of Dwarka, Ayodhya, and Vaikuntha? It's because that so-called distress in Braj is the ecstasy of love and separation. So Gopakumar stays for some time in Ayodhya. He's overwhelmed by Ram's presence, Ram's character, Ram's personality. He sees how Ram is the perfect king. But that realization brings about some subtle thoughts. Yes, he's the perfect king, but what about my Madan Gopal, the cowherd boy in Braj? Hanuman can detect in Gopakumar, you seem to be troubled about something. You don't seem to be in perfect bliss here in Ayodhya. I need to preach to you more about the glories of Ram. I'll save you. Hanuman is canvassing for Lord Ram. Listen about Ram's glories. Snap out of it. Snap out of it. What's this other feeling that you have? It's not necessary. You're in Ayodhya with Ram. So Gopakumar would snap out of it. He would be appeased. But then, due to Gopakumar's particular spiritual practices, grudge would start to manifest in his heart. And Gopakumar couldn't get over it. And Hanuman tried as much as Hanuman could. Hanuman couldn't snap him out of it. Hey, what's with this grudge stuff? This is Ayodhya. Get with the program. How's this going to end up? It's a cycle of discontent, spiritual discontent, and appeasement. Hanuman's doing wonders, but finally Ram interferes. Ram intervenes. Ram says, you actually should get on your way. Because the only way that Gopakumar will leave Ayodhya, in spite of his cycle of discontent and appeasement, transcendental discontent. The only way he'll leave is if Ram tells him to go. And it's so rare that Ram tells someone, leave Ayodhya. But he tells Gopakumar, you please go. Get on your way to Dwarka. And he sends Gopakumar to Dwarka in the company of Jambavan. Jambavan is the grandfather of Samba, Krishna's son, because Krishna married the daughter of Jambavan, Jambavati. So in that way, that's the only way Gopakumar could proceed on his quest for Madan Gopal, which will eventually, that quest will take him beyond Dwarka to Mathura, to Vrindavan. Sometimes you can say that Dwarka is a district of Mathura, the Acharyas point out. And most of the residents of Dwarka are Mathuravasis, because you know how Krishna emptied out Mathura and took everyone to Dwarka for safety. Still, there is a difference between Dwarka and the Mathura part, known as Braj. So this hearing of Mother Sita's entering the earth causes grief. But this is Krishna's way as Ramchandra of unmanifesting. Just like in the Moshla Leela, the end, the so-called end of Krishna's pastimes. Shot in the heel of his foot by an arrow, and that's going to end his life. But the atheists, the mundaners think, just see, your Krishna was killed by a hunter. Who dies from an arrow in the heel? This is Krishna's way of making fun of mundane perception. All right, you want to believe I'm dead? An arrow in my heel has killed me. So similarly, you want to think that Sita and Ram are ordinary persons? He banishes her, even while she's expecting. And she disappears into the earth. And now Ram is grieving, although he's a supreme personality of Godhead. So he's teaching, as we said, two lessons. He's teaching what about the internal potency, the Hladini Shakti, and he's teaching about the material experience of perverted love. How you have to suffer, how you have to go through grief. He's giving the lesson in Sri Sanginam Gatim, the situation, the destination of those who are materially attached. While he's giving that lesson while tasting love in separation. And of course, in Radha Krishna Leela, you have the unlimited ocean of Vipralamba Seva, love in separation. You see a glimpse of that in Ram Leela. Any questions? Yes. Madan Gopal.
You mentioned that the Garanganagaris worship Lord Chaitanya as you mentioned the Garanganagaris worship Lord Chaitanya as Krishna himself.
As the enjoyer of the gopis. Yes.
I was just going to ask how is it that we worship Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Personality of God, and how is our worship different?
We know that he is Krishna in the role of a devotee. The Garanganagaris overlook that point. And they think he's Gopinath. They worship him as Gopinath, which is not pure devotional service. Part of Shuddha Bhakti, part of pure Bhakti is to treat the Lord according to the Lord's attitude that he wants to be treated. So Ram has his staunch Vedic following attitude. He would never do what Krishna has done in Braj. Lord Chaitanya wants to be seen as a devotee. Although we know he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we don't treat him like Gopinath. You understand? Yes.
The sages of Dandakaranya who met Lord Ramachandra and have a desire to worship him in a conjugal mood. The sages of Dandakaranya.
Yes.
Just in comparison to the
Rishicharis, yes.
in comparison to the Garanga Nagaris who have a desire to serve Garanga this similar way.
The sages in Dandakaranya wanted to worship the Supreme Lord in Madhurya. So they appeared as gopis in Braj. They didn't do it in Ramlila. The Rishicharis or the Municharis, they appeared as gopis in Braj to have their desire fulfilled, but not in Ramlila. It's quiet today? Yes.
Thanks, right. As ISKCON grows, we have devotees with different moods and different bhavas. So is our movement capable of catering for those with different bhavas? For example, if their bhava is for Lord Rama instead of Lord Krishna or Rajapram, is our movement able to cater for those who are devotees of Lord Ram, for example?
We focus on Krishna Bhava. If someone is actually attached to Lord Ramchandra, yes, there's room for them. But are they actually attached to Lord Ram, or is it something just by family tradition with no depth to it? The example I like to give is about, well, you have little children, right? Your little children play, he likes you, she likes you. Your children don't do that. But does it happen at the Hare Krishna school, little kids? They play like that. He likes you, she likes you. And all the adults know, you don't know what you're talking about. It's just child stuff. So similarly, sometimes devotees have an artificial identification. I like Jagannath. I like Balaram. It's sentiment. There's no depth to it. But if someone actually has the depth of that bhava, certainly there's room for them. Look at Gaur Leela. Lord Chaitanya himself was canvassing Murari Gupta. Who's Murari Gupta? Sakshat Hanuman. He's Hanuman. But Lord Chaitanya is saying, why don't you worship Krishna? The attractiveness of Krishna. There's no comparison. Lord Ram can't compare. Krishna is the ocean of all sublime qualities. Worship Krishna. So this is Gauranga Mahaprabhu trying to deprogram Murari Gupta. And Murari Gupta tried. He stayed up all night crying, crying, crying. In the morning, he reported back to Lord Chaitanya, I've tried, but I can't follow your order. I can't take my head away from the lotus feet of Ram. I tried. Kill me now. Let me die now. I can't fulfill your order, and I can't take my head away from Ram. What to do? Let me just give up this body. And what did Lord Chaitanya tell him? This is the perfect attitude of a perfect servitor. That even if the master wants separation, the servitor won't let him go. And even if the servitor wants separation, the master won't let him go. You are acting in the most appropriate way because you are Hanuman. The same thing with Rupa and Sanatan Goswami's brother Anupam. Rupa and Sanatan, the older brothers were working him over. What is this Ram? Everything is sweetness of Krishna. Anupama had the same experience. I can't do it. I tried. Yes, my older brothers are all Krishna bhaktas. Let me try too. Let's all engage in Krishna seva together. But he couldn't. He tried. So if someone actually has the depths of a Ram Bhakta, who joins the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, certainly that can be accommodated, but it's not very common. The depths of Ram Bhava. Anything else? No one else has a question? Yes. Way in the back. Is that Daishila Prabhu or who is it? You have to speak louder, please. Yes. Feeling separation from Krishna, the Acharyas say, and Srila Prabhupada would emphasize, is the easiest way for experiencing Krishna. Krishna, it would be nice to see you, but you're busy doing so many other things. Let me serve you. That's how Prabhupada would explain. It would be so nice to see you, Krishna, but I understand you have you have better things to do than give me darshan. Let me engage in your service. And while engaging in service, you experience the separation. So yes, trying to feel separation from Krishna is the easiest way to actually have Krishna's presence. As Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, it's the service, the contribution of the acharyas in the Madhva Gaudiya line to instill in their followers feelings of separation from Krishna. Yes. Yes. Krishna's opulence, I want for me. Krishna's loving affairs, I want for me. I am the center, I am the enjoyer. As Bhagavad Gita states, Itcha Dvesha Samuttena Dvandva Mohena Bharata. All living entities are born into this world overwhelmed by attachment and aversion. Attachment to wanting to imitate Krishna and aversion to following Krishna's instruction. That's our psychology. And as a result of that rebellious psychology, we get our so-called pastimes of suffering and grief. Therefore, the Sri Sanginam Gatim, the condition of which is the result of its material attachment. So Ramchandra is teaching that, and he's also teaching about the dynamics of Aladini Shakti, the internal pleasure potency of the Lord. Yes, last question.
First, it mentions Ramo in the first line, and in the Maha Mantra, we've heard recommendations that we should chant pronounce Rama, not as Ramo. Is that the reason? Because Rama is referring to Lord Ramachandra?
What did you say about the Ramo?
In the Maha Mantra, it's recommended that we should not chant Rama as Ramo.
Yes, that's right.
Is that because Rama is referring to Lord Ramachandra?
Because what is referred?
Ramo is referring to
I don't know what
Ramachandra.
Ramo refers to.
Rama is referring to Ramachandra.
That's part of the Sanskrit verse. I don't know Sanskrit enough to explain the endings of the words. You have to ask a Sanskrit scholar. Sometimes devotees would ask Prabhupada, well, are we chanting? What about persons who, due to their language, the nature of their native tongue, they can't chant the Hare Krishna mantra distinctly as we would think? Krishna. In some languages, it's very difficult to say Krishna as we know the pronunciation, the strict Vedic Sanskrit pronunciations, which is difficult for some languages. So they asked Prabhupada, what about that? To just chant, Krishna knows when you're calling him. Anyone here have a language difficult to say Krishna? Maybe Chinese. But Krishna knows when you're calling him with sincerity. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.